For the introduction, both Meteor Garden 2018 and Voice Over Flowers Korean 2009 are adaptations of the Japanese manga series Hanayori Dongo. The basic plot of the two dramas is the same, but two adaptations differ in a few ways. Here are a few of the variations. For the characters, the names and personalities of the characters in the two dramas are different. For instance, Ko Yu-san plays Tokoshi Makino in Voice Over Flowers, but Shen Yu plays the same role in the Meteor Garden. In Voice Over Flowers, Lee Min-ho portrays Domyoji Tsukasa. In Meteor Garden, Dylan Wang plays the same role. For setting, Meteor Garden is set in China, Voice Over Flowers set in Korea. For the music, the two dramas have distinct musical styles. The soundtracks for the Voice Over Flowers and Meteor Garden are in Chinese and Korean respectively. For the length, Meteor Garden has 50 episodes, whereas Voice Over Flowers has 25. Production time. Human TV produced Meteor Garden, while KBS2 produced by Voice Over Flowers.
Here are some of the differences we found regarding video editing between Voice Over Flowers and the Meteor Garden. First is that Meteor Garden relied more on dialogue and facial expressions to convey the characters' emotions and thoughts, whereas the Voice Over Flowers used more voiceover and flashbacks. Second one is that Meteor Garden featured more static, slow-paced editing with long takes and steady shots, whereas Voice Over Flowers featured more fast-paced, dynamic editing with quick cuts and camera movements. Then third and last is while Meteor Garden featured more serious and dramatic elements with sharp focus shadows and background music, Voice Over Flowers featured more romantic and comedic elements with soft focus sparkles and sound effects. That's what we found regarding video editing. Thank you.
So today I want to talk about the camera angle of Voice Over Flowers versus Meteor Garden. Voice Over Flowers emphasize the emotions and expressions of the characters, particularly the main couple, by using more close-up shots and dramatic angles. More wide-angle shots and deliberate camera movements were used in Meteor Garden to highlight the locations and scenery, while also achieving a more realistic and natural feel. Bright filters and lightning effects were used in the more flamboyant and colorful cinematography of Voice Over Flowers. The cinematography in Meteor Garden was more subdued with softer contrast and darker tones. That's it for the camera angle.
For the conclusion, Hanayori Dango is a Japanese manga series. Voice Over Flowers and Meteor Garden are adaptations of manga series, but they have different characters, settings, and musical styles, which is Voice Over Flowers is set in Korea and Meteor Garden is set in China. The Japanese manga adaptations Voice Over Flowers and Meteor Garden have distinct video editing techniques. Voice Over Flowers uses voiceovers and flashbacks, while Meteor Garden uses dialogue and facial expressions. Both scenes are vibrant and realistic, but Meteor Garden has more dramatic and static editing. There are also more violent and bullying scenes in Voice Over Flowers, along with the red cards, bruises, and blood. While Meteor Garden employed wide-angle shots and purposeful camera movements, Voice Over Flowers employed close-up shots and dramatic angles to highlight emotions. While both movies made use of lighting effects and bright filters, Voice Over Flowers followed the manga more closely, even altering camera angles in certain scenes.